to become sheriff?
Yes, I have multiple times.
This sheriff thinks that our immigration policies are
Can you
racist.
remind me what it says?
It's often known as the invasion clause. U.S. government guarantees the protection of our states from invasion and domestic violence.
Yes, I've heard that.
Okay, so could it be, Sheriff, that part of the reason we suggested a border wall, because anybody that knows security understands that a wall is just one part of a security system designed to keep our citizens safe of all races? Could that be it, Sheriff, and maybe not racism?
No, I don't think there's an invasion, and there's not a clause been activated in the Constitution that, suggests that this is an invasion. It's not an invasion.
Yeah,
it's the same thing I've seen my whole life.
Yeah, well, I think Miss Morin and other moms who have lost their children brutally raped, murdered, drug off into the woods would highly disagree with that comment. And if you looked at the data and the graph that's been presented here today, it's obviously an invasion.
It's not a
so
military
much so,
invasion.
hold on, I'm not done yet. So much so that Kamala Harris has actually changed her position now on border security because she realizes what a complete catastrophe it is. Mr. Heidke, you've been a Border Patrol chief. Do you agree with Sheriff Hathaway here that implementing a wall as part of a security system is racist?
No, I do not.
Have you ever seen a wall that stopped one race of people from getting in and allowed other races of people to come into the country? Have you ever seen that?
No.
Didn't think so. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Gentleman yields. I now recognize the gentleman from New Jersey, Mr. Menendez, for 5 minutes questioning.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Ranking Member. Thank you to our panelists. This is my first term in office. And I represent a district where over 40% of the people that live there were born outside the country. So I care deeply about our immigration policy. The first trip I took as a member was to our southern border because I care that we get it right there as well for our border communities and for our communities throughout the country. I care about both parts of this conversation. The other week, we remembered those who were lost in 9/11. This was a select committee after 9/11 to make sure that we protect the homeland from threats, domestic and foreign.
Yeah, some of these people are blatant liars.
This committee would be a place that we could engage with our colleagues in a meaningful way to take on these challenges. And I feel like I've tried in my individual capacity to do that work. But there's a long history on this committee, this Congress, of opportunities to come together where we've not been met halfway. We marked up H.R. 2, the Republican priority bill on the border, which would have caused the loss of human life on American soil because of the handcuffs that they would have put on NGOs that operate along the border to help other human beings. We've talked about the funding request that the president has made for more CBP officers to ensure that we have the latest technology for fentanyl detection. It was ignored. I know other colleagues have talked about the Senate border deal that was negotiated with Republicans.
Trump was able to secure the border, never forget that.
Republicans in the Senate never even got to the House. We had and we consumed this committee's staff with an impeachment of Secretary Mayorkas. I think there were 5 impeachment reports that they put together to try to make the case. They didn't call one constitutional expert to come talk about high crimes and misdemeanors. I mean, so when we as Democrats are frustrated, we share the frustration with the American people who look to us and want us to get things done. We know we have to work across the aisle because we're in the minority party. That's what we came here to do. And every step along the way, we've been frustrated, even on H.R. 2. Blue Lotus, an administrative operation to combat fentanyl. I introduced an amendment to give legislative authority for future administrations to do the same program. Not a Republican voted for it. On their own bill, a single amendment that dealt with fentanyl. Not one Republican voted for it. Show me where the good faith effort is. Just show me. Because we have done the work. You've listened to all of our colleagues who are frustrated. People in the Senate who negotiated a deal didn't even get a vote.
You're all pretending that there's no problem.
We're frustrated. It's not partisan.
What are you frustrated about?
Theater. It's not
You
what we
want
came
money,
here to do.
money.
I almost didn't even come down to this meeting.
It
'cause I'm
doesn't
so
solve
frustrated.
the
I'm so sorry.
problem. You're
Especially,
letting
I'm so
people
sorry
in.
for
You're
your
human
loss.
trafficking.
And for so many like you who have experienced such devastating loss, and I am sorry. That's why I signed up for this job, to try to fix the things that are broken in this country. Our immigration system is broken. We feel it no matter where we live. We have an obligation to do something about it. I want to do something
Trump
about it.
fixed the immigration system and you guys broke it. You did this to us.
I believe we have
You
folks who have
valued
worked
money
CBP.
and human trafficking
have folks who are
over the
sheriffs.
safety and sanctuary of
Do you look to
American
Congress
lives.
And us as
You have
legislators
blood on
for
your
solutions
hands.
to some of the challenges that you're all facing.
Yes.
Sir?
Yes, definitely. I consider that to be your job.
It is. And if I were a resident or you're a sheriff, I would look for you to make sure that our communities are safe. This is a two-way street. We listen. We show up to these committee hearings and listen to all the things that you are facing, that Border Patrol agents are facing, that border communities are facing. We listen, and I just wish we were doing more. So just know that I'm committed to trying to take on these challenges. So many of us really are. You may not see that here in this committee. You may not see that today. Rest assured, we're going to keep trying, and we're going to try to get to better places for all residents, both of our districts and throughout the country. So thank you all for being here today. Thank you for all that you do to advocate for these issues. I yield back.
Gentleman yields. I now recognize the ranking member, the acting ranking member, for his closing statement.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Again, I want to thank the witnesses for being here today. And Ms. Moore, and again, my condolences to you and your family. And we are doing everything we can to make sure
No, you're not.
that we go after those animals
No, you're not.
that would do those things that were done to your children, to your daughter. One is way too many victims. Mr. Chairman, as I look at this committee, I think today is the last full committee hearing before the election, and I cannot but say that I'm disappointed with today's hearing, because we're 50, 60 days away from an election, and a lot of the stuff I heard today was really focused on the election. Their fault, our fault, statistics. Back home, people want solutions from us. I don't hear a lot of solutions today. Mr. Heidke, I started talking to you just a little bit about the resources. You talked about many places along the border that don't have the personnel. And as I told you earlier today, I met with the president of one of your local organizations on the border. And we discussed the fact that in about 2 or 3 years, you're gonna have a tsunami of border agents retiring, because most of them were hired after 9/11. There's a mandatory retirement age. I've not heard any discussion about how to replace them, how to hire them. We talked about the fact that this country has a massive debt. What are we gonna do to increase the funding for our border security when we have a national debt? No solutions discussed. Mr. Desmond, you're a San Diego County Board of Supervisors. I was Orange County Board. A lot of ag in your area, I think. Should we deport all those undocumented workers out there? The answer is probably not, but we should give them a pathway to citizenship, or just a pathway to be able to work in this country, because they're the ones that produce our food. And I have not heard of any solutions to fixing the problem for
He
those
just
that have
wants
been waiting
human
in line 20,
trafficking, this
30
guy.
years. A
That's
lot of
what
them are my
he-
constituents as well as
That's
they are
what he's
yours.
advocating for.
We haven't given you a solution.
When they say
Mr.
that it's the
Hathaway,
people
Sheriff Hathaway,
who work
and
or
I
grow
can
our
only
food,
imagine
that's human
what you go through
trafficking.
at your town. 80, 90% Latino. I'll give you a little secret. I know racism doesn't exist, but I can't tell you how many times I've been pulled over by ICE to demand what, my citizenship was, and that's okay. I'll comply. But it's only folks that kind of look like me that have that treatment. I know it's national security. It's nothing but that. But you, my friend, are responding to your constituents, to your taxpayers, to your voters that say, we expect certain respect from the government, from the sheriff. We want streets that are safe. We want to make sure there's a policies that enable us to live like human beings and not have to fear police officers. We spent 20 years in the county of Orange trying to make sure that the people that lived in the shadows didn't fear reporting crimes to police. That's good policing. We're not a police state. The United States is not a police state. We have to have cooperation from our population to make sure we have safe streets. You, Sheriff, have a tough job, but you're not alone. The numbers, a beautiful chart out there, speaks volumes. But what's not on that chart is the story behind a lot of those numbers. We didn't talk about the COVID pandemic that
That's crazy,
devastated not
Donna.
only the U.S.,
Everywhere we go, we're
half the
confronted
countries in
with
Latin
people in
America
our
are
country who don't
non-functional
speak our
right now.
language.
You go to Honduras, that economy is on lifeline. Other countries in Latin America, Colombia right now has about 4 million Venezuelan refugees. Costa Rica, ditto. Mexico, trying to figure out a handle to the problem. And by the way, the other issue nobody talked about today is Mexico's cooperation with the U.S. today. They're our biggest trading partner and they're stepping up to the plate. It's never enough. But, we want to work on a solution, for example, safe pathways to the U.S. to work, and also databases that track those criminals so Ms. Morin's situation is not repeated. Those are real solutions that we're working on and we can continue to work on. Dreamers, okay? That population of kids who are here, now adults, some of them that actually have made the ultimate sacrifice in the military for our country and whose families are still living in the shadows. It's not an issue for Homeland Security, but it is connected to Homeland Security. Former Secretary of Homeland Security, General Kelly, who used to be President Trump's chief of staff, would say border security does not start or end at the border. If anything negative gets to the border, you're already too late. And he was in charge of Southcom, which is the Southern Command, U.S. military in Latin America. He understood that it wasn't about the border, but it was about the region. I didn't hear any discussion about these issues today. And Mr. Chairman, we've got a lot of work to do. It's not your fault. It's not their fault. It's our job to fix these problems. The American taxpayers are asking us
President
to be
Trump
practical
fixed
and
it
do
already.
60 days
You guys
out, and we're
broke
talking
it.
essentially political rhetoric here.
Elect
about
Trump,
the
fix the
election.
border. He'll do it. He did it
Senator
before.
Langford is a guy I talk to a lot. He put his neck out in the line as an elected official to come up with an immigration solution. He really worked hard. And I looked at and I said, Jim, you really gonna go out on the limb here, man? Nobody's been able to succeed for 30 years. He said, this is the right thing to do.
Trump did.
Immigration solution, a border solution. And then former President Trump came out and said, kill it.
No, he didn't. You
He's a
liar.
conservative
You
Republican
total liar.
from Oklahoma
President
trying
Trump
to do the right thing
isn't
for
even
America.
in office. How could he
And that's
do
what his
that? Number
reward is.
one. Number two,
We have to change the rhetoric.
that bill
We're
was
all
full of money for
Americans.
Ukraine.
We are all
That bill was
expecting
nothing more
our
than
federal
fundraising
government,
effort
the
for a
United States
war
Congress,
that none of us
to
agree
solve
with.
the problems.
Except for you guys who are money laundering over in
know,
Ukraine.
Most of us here are married. You ever
Liars.
go home and say, I get 100% on the decisions with my wife? Your spouse? Of course not. You negotiate the deal, and if you get most of it, you've cut a good deal. You don't agree 100% with your wife, with your spouse when you're cutting deals. Why do we expect to come to Congress and agree 100% with the other side? Hope we can move forward. Homeland Security was designed, this committee That agency was designed after 9/11 to work together, not as a partisan committee, but as a committee that worked across the aisle to protect Americans.
You know, this
from
dude
foreign and
is
domestic
probably an
terrorism.
immigrant. The way that
We
he
have to
says,
get back to
you know,
doing our
Mexico,
job and doing it right.
whatever.
We've got the Secret Service that's
You
also
always hear
under our
these people from
jurisdiction,
Mexico
and they're having a hell of a
defending
time
the illegal
protecting
immigrants.
our
Who, by the
presidential
way,
candidates.
don't pay
And those two
taxes,
articles I submitted
don't
for the
pay into
record
our
today
system,
are a
strain our
glimpse
system,
that the rest of
break
the
our
world
system
is scared
via
to death
Cloward
because they
and
see
Pivot.
our American democracy on the brink of failure. And
Cloward
that
and
does not
Pivot.
speak well of the job we are doing here in Congress.
You did it.
Put partisanship aside and start working to stabilize this country and do what our taxpayers expect us to do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I yield.
Gentleman yields. I now recognize myself for a closing statement. I want to thank you all for attending today. Very important hearing, and I especially thank our witnesses, Chief Heike, Supervisor Desmond, Ms. Morin, Sheriff Hathaway. Your testimonies, they've certainly stuck with me, and I know will continue to deeply affect the American people. Ms. Morin, my heart is with you and your family. I want to thank you for your courage today to tell Rachel's story. What happened is unimaginable. You're right, it was completely preventable. There are tons of stories like yours, thousands of American families. We have to put a stop to this. And to hear today from you that the person who did this to your daughter walked across our southern border, a policy that had been in place to do DNA testing, would have identified him as a murderer fleeing his own country, a policy that was done away with by this administration led to the death of your daughter.
Again, Trump
And
fixed
it'll
the
be real
border.
hard to convince me otherwise.
Democrats broke it.
Mr. Heike, thank you for your valuable testimony. I want to thank you for your years of service to the country. You've kept our nation safe. 5
Democrats, the cult of death.
administrations. You've got firsthand experience. And what you said today in your 5 minutes, to me, is devastating to the policy decisions that this administration has made. You were very clear that they decreased returning people to other countries. They decreased detention, and it was purposeful policy changes, intentional. It led to massive increases in migration to our country. Then you were told to hide it so the media couldn't see it. You shared stories of human trafficking, sex trafficking of little girls. Secondary to this wave, because you're overwhelmed with resources, which was secondary to the policy changes. You told us today of the incredible, tragic increases in suicides amongst Border Patrol, and your exact words in your testimony correlated directly to the increase in migration caused by those failed policies and the removal of policies. You know, Mr. Correa, I love this gentleman. He's a great man. He talked about resources is the problem. And many people here have talked about, we got to have one of many, but okay. But if you implement policies and refuse to let people do their job, more people aren't going to solve the problem. And oh, by the way, H.R. 2, the bill we passed, increased the number of Border Patrol agents, but Mr. Desmond, we appreciate you being here with us today as well. San Diego County has seen some of the worst of this border crisis, and it does start at the top. It starts with President Biden and Vice President Harris, and I want to thank you for shedding some light on the situation in California and the realities of this crisis. And I really appreciated you talking about the fact that your state has ordered federal people and other people not to ask certain legal questions that are in the laws passed by this body. Ignore the laws. That's like saying, you know that Constitution that says this body writes the law, this body executes
This is
the law,
outrageous.
this body adjudicates the law? We don't care about that. We're just going to pick and choose which laws we enforce. You don't like a law, you change it. That's a threat to democracy as far as I'm concerned. Sheriff Hathaway, I want to thank you for coming and for your service to your community. I totally disagree with you that the border wall is racist. I think that's absurd.
Yep.
And I really appreciate the question Mr. Crane had. Is a wall going to pick and choose which person it blocks? And I'll tell you, the last time I was at the border, it was a huge group of Russians coming in, and they're more white than I am. Stupid, actually. It's absolutely stupid to suggest that walls and the attempt to enforce our laws is somehow racist. But I do appreciate you coming. The truth is, there are two competing visions for our country. That's it. On the one hand, some of us are fighting like hell to enforce the laws of our country, to go back to that Constitution that says this group writes the laws, this group enforces the laws. And we're prioritizing the well-being and the safety of American citizens. Yet, on the other hand, we have an administration led by President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris that couldn't care less about those laws, as evidenced by their actions, pure and simple. It is inescapably clear that the Biden administration and Harris, along with him, ended effective border policies with no alternatives in place to secure our border. They implemented an unlawful policy of mass catch and release, and they gutted interior enforcement, casting aside their responsibility to enforce the laws that they swore to uphold. And they have continued to deceive the American people about it. Let's hide these people. Let's fly them to Texas. The truth is, Americans no longer feel safe in their communities. A little baby crawling on a floor in a VRBO in Florida is dead because of the fentanyl brought across our porous, open southern border that a witness today said has been left wide open so that we can process more people into the country. Millions of Americans have lost loved ones to fentanyl. And Americans who can't afford housing, whose insurance premiums have shot up, forced to watch as lawbreakers have been rewarded with free housing and benefits. And I think it was you, Sheriff Hathaway, earlier, talked about not impacting inflation. I'm sorry. If 12 million people walk into the country, we can't just suddenly make a dairy for milk.
Exactly.
And there's this thing called the supply-demand curve, basic economics. If you increase the demand without a change in supply, the price is going to go up. It's just basic economics. You know, I thought spending almost 2 years investigating this border crisis would have more of an impact on the other side of the aisle. I thought laying out the human cost of this crisis, bringing in people like Ms. Morin, especially the cost of innocent women, children being trafficked, would have an impact. I thought telling the stories of those who've been victimized by criminal illegal aliens would weigh on their conscience. I thought bringing recognition to the memorandum written by the secretary telling his people to ignore the laws passed by Congress and let felons into the country instead of detaining them would make a difference. I thought laying out the financial cost of this crisis to the American communities would make them think twice. I thought explaining how the crisis is overwhelming law enforcement officers would garner a little sympathy. I thought laying out in painstaking detail how this crisis is compromising our national security. 8 ISIS guys caught in New York. Jordanians trying to storm a military installation. And the ISIS guys used a CBP1 app.
An app. They just use an
Thought
app.
it'd be a wake-up call to the administration. I was wrong. Instead, we've been ignored and we've been maligned.
It's because they're human trafficking.
This administration is just as unwilling to end this border crisis as it was when we began these investigations.
They make
And
money.
that crappy bill put together in the Senate to give them justification that didn't pass the Senate, by the way. So we talk about how, we should have. It didn't even pass the Senate. course, they bring up the cat story. You know, I don't care about that. I care about Laken Riley, who is dead. I care about your daughter, who is dead. Let's talk about that. Instead, they're talking about all this other stuff that just doesn't matter.
Cats' lives do matter.
It's
though.
clear to me, to this committee, to Congress, and the American people that Biden-Harris administration is hell-bent on keeping our borders wide open.
For human
This
trafficking.
deception with the CBP One app it's not decreasing the flow, it's characterizing them in another way. And all we're being told is that the crisis is somehow over because of a couple of months of low crossing numbers, a shell game, as if that fixes the damage of the past 3.5 years, and ignores the objective reality that the numbers are still at crisis levels. Millions continue to enter our country through illegitimate means like these mass parole programs. From day one, this administration has refused to enforce the laws of our nation, and eliminated effective border policies. And as a result, we have members of the most dangerous criminal cartels streaming into our country, linking up with gangs, creating a crime nexus, bringing drugs and crime with them. It's unsustainable. And to say, well, we need to guest workers, so open borders are okay, is absurd. It's also absurd, or at the very least contradictory, the claim that most of these immigrants are coming to work, when in reality, most are attempting to claim asylum.
They want free money.
So which one is it?
They want your money, our money.
If they come and say, hey, I'm here to work, well, cool.
They're
We
not
have
here
this
to
legal
work.
pathway. No, they're saying, I'm claiming asylum. So which is it? Are they coming out of credible fear for their life and safety? Or are they coming as economic migrants? You can't have it both ways. I honestly don't know how anyone can listen to the stories we've heard today and still stand by Biden-Harris administration's reckless policies. Policies that are killing Americans and compromising our national security. Exactly 1 week ago, members of this committee went to Ground Zero, the World Trade Center, to remember Americans killed on 9/11 and to honor the first responders who gave their lives, 19 men. That's all it took to take the lives of nearly 3,000 Americans. And yet our Border Patrol has stopped 384 suspected terrorists trying to get in. How many more of them are in the 2 million gotaways, known gotaways? Not even the ones that walked across while Chief of the Border Sector said, there was nobody there watching. Lastly, let me just point out how intentional this plan is. Its expansion of the CBP One app funneled hundreds of thousands of inadmissible aliens to ports of entry and then into the interior of this country. This is a major end around to our lawful immigration system. And as NBC News recently reported, even individuals with terrorist connections have been allowed in through this program. Well, we know who those are, some of them anyway. Additionally, massive fraud was discovered in the Cuban, Haitian, Nicaraguan, Venezuelan mass parole program, which allowed 30,000 inadmissible aliens into the country each month. Yet it's back up and running, even after reports from the folks at DHS claim they knew it's against the law. And after reports that the CHNV parolees have committed grave sexual crimes since arriving here. Simultaneously, this administration allows border wall materials to rust in the desert instead of choosing to build the wall we've already paid for. In short, the Biden-Harris administration is doing everything in its power to perpetuate this border crisis, and any claims to the contrary is misleading at its least. The truth is that even if President Biden shuts the border down tomorrow, it will not undo the damage this administration has caused over the last 3.5 years. Rachel Morin's death can't be undone. Laken Riley can't be brought back. And the heartbreak felt by those who have lost a loved one because of this border crisis cannot be fixed. How many times have we sat here and held hearings over the lawlessness of this administration and its refusal to obey the laws and secure our borders? We've passed legislation only to be ignored by Democrats. We've held cabinet officials accountable, again, ignored by Democrats. It was brought up today by one of my colleagues about this impeachment. I'm sorry. If you have a cabinet secretary who just gets to do whatever they want and not follow the laws of Congress, why do we have a Congress in the first place? But I guess Congress don't feel offended, right? Because the president was told by the Supreme Court he can't pay off student loans. He said, I don't care, I'm gonna do it anyway. I guess we don't need a Supreme Court either. We should just have a king. It doesn't have to be like this. It cannot continue to be like this. And I'm going to fight as long as I have the strength to ensure that we return to some form of law and order and sanity on this issue. There has to be change. Something has got to give. We need to secure our border, and we need to do it now. I thank the witnesses for their valuable testimony and the members for their questions on both sides. The members of the subcommittee may have some additional questions for the witnesses. We'd like to ask the witnesses to respond to those in writing. Pursuant to Committee Rule 7D, the hearing record will be held open for 10 days for those. Without objection, this committee stands adjourned.
Alrighty then. Oh, turn the camera around. Where's my turn camera around? Alright guys, hi, it's me. How's everybody doing on this, what is this, Wednesday afternoon? So, it's stunning. The fact that there are so many illegal aliens in our country, and they are literally being shipped in by the busload. They are being flown in by the plane load. I have been researching the Springfield, Ohio situation, and what I come to learn is that it's real, and there are a few cases of the cats and dogs issue, but the fact is that people in Haiti do eat cats and dogs and ducks and birds and whatever they can find, because they are coming from a country that is so poor you can't even imagine the level of poverty that these people live in. I mean, their streets aren't streets. They're like rivers of mud. Their homes aren't homes. They're like huts and tin roofs, and I've never been there, so I'm not saying that I know for a fact, but I'm researching and talking to people who have actually been to Haiti. I have actually met Haitians and spoken with them as well. And here's one thing I always find out when I speak to a Haitian. They hate the Clintons. All the Haitians hate the Clintons. Why, you might ask? Well, if you recall, there was a devastating tsunami in Haiti, or, well, yeah, that was Port-au-Prince, I think. Anyway, this is in the 90s. And back then, the Hildebeest, I think she was Secretary of State at the time, and the Clinton Foundation stepped in and saw a great opportunity, not for helping people who were in dire straits, but for stealing their children. In fact, there was one woman, her first name was Laura Silsby, exactly. Laura Silsby was working with the Clinton Foundation, and she was stopped at the border not once but twice with children who not only were not orphans, they weren't hers, but they weren't even orphans. She was stealing them. Where's Laura Silsby today? I believe she works for the Amber Alert system. So many of the people in our government today have been there for the past 50 years, turning it into a human schmafficking operation. You know, I just speak in code sometimes, and sometimes I don't. I haven't been kicked off yet, but if you haven't realized it by now, it is human schmafficking like I always say, all roads lead to human trafficking. And that's why the only person who was ever held accountable for the Jeffrey Epstein saga was Ghislaine Maxwell. Jeffrey Epstein himself may or may not even be dead. We don't know. However, it's funny because Epstein is trending on Twitter right now. Why is that? Well, because everybody expects the guy who tried to shoot President Trump, as well as P. Diddy, are going to be Epsteined. Because they know things. We know they know things. And we know that this guy who tried to shoot Trump the other day, he is in deep with the, he's like, there's direct ties to this administration through this guy. There's actually a cook or a chef or something who was chef for Obama or Kamala or whatever, one of those jokers. And this guy was like in bed with him. I don't know if he was like really in bed with him, but you know what I mean. Anyway, there's pictures of them together and they're all buddy. This dude is very politically connected. It's really clear. It just, like, how did they think that they were going to get away with it this time? And it's funny because I heard Dan Bongino. He's the one I trust when it comes to talking about these shooters and these assassination attempts. Dan Bongino is the dude. He knows everything. He has been there. He has done that. So anyway, he's my main source of information. But anyway, the interesting thing between the difference between these two shooters is that the one in Pennsylvania didn't seem to have an escape plan. Oh yeah, he'd rigged a van or something with explosives. I don't know what he thought that was going to accomplish. He got up on that roof. Did he think he was going to just jump off the roof and run away after he got caught? I mean, I really don't know what he could have been thinking about that, but he really, whatever escape plan he had, it was pretty bad. And he ended up, so whatever. That guy is cremated. Really weird. Sounds like hiding evidence to me. Anywho, let's move on to this dude. I don't even want to say his name. I'm just gonna, his name is like vomiting. It's bleh, right? Hi, Luigi. Ralph. We'll just call him Ralph because he's like vomit. Anyway, Mr. Vomit. He seemed to have a good escape plan, didn't he now? And, and it's funny, wasn't he like wearing a pink shirt? So he was like kind of easy to spot in the weeds. Everyone's saying, Dan Bongino's like, he could so easily have been wearing camouflage, but no, he went with pink. Because he's a Democrat. Anyway, he did have an escape plan, and he was able to run away. But a very observant woman, woohoo, yay for women, she saw him, and she had the presence of mind to get his license plate, take a picture of his car, and then they couldn't not catch him. Could you imagine if he had gotten away, and he would be at large even right now, and, we would be all thinking Iran and thinking all this other stuff, and they'd be coming up with who knows what kind of stupid stories. Anyway, we know now, although they're trying to tell us he was a Republican. Oh yeah, sure, like the kid on the roof. He was a Republican too, right? Stupid idiots. Oh wait, no, it was staged. So it was fake. Yeah, okay, whatever. If you don't realize by now that the current administration is just full of liars, cheaters, criminals, scallywags. I mean, the people that get to do their bidding, the 22-year-old autistic kid and this 58-year-old loser from Woodstock. I mean, he's my age, but whatever. Oh my gosh. He seriously, I mean, how anybody thinks that dude's a Republican, just look at him. Just look at him. Oh, funny. And both of these people showed up on on commercials. The first kid showed up on a BlackRock commercial and also showed up in pictures with Larry Fink with a gun. And Larry Fink was the one with the gun, not the kid. And but the second one was not a BlackRock commercial, actually, Donna. I did research that too. It was a commercial, but it was for like the Azov military. It was like Nazis, and if you research the stuff this guy was saying, he was all hearts and flowers. I want to help the Ukrainian people. They're such good, wonderful people. They deserve what's happening to them. And on the other hand, he's like, death to Trump, death to Trump. So really, really crazy. I don't know what to think about the people who are going along with this fiasco. Well, I do know what to think about you. Please don't vote. Just, if you don't know what to do by now, then just let us handle it. You stay home on election day. Don't early vote or anything. However, I gotta say, to the rest of us, please early vote. It's come to the point where we have to play their games. They were all about early voting, so let's be all about early voting. I'm not saying stuff ballots or anything. That is not our way. And if you don't want to watch me, you don't have to say nasty things. You can just go away. But, you think I'm whacked, so that's fine. I am just going to hide you and feed you to the gators. Oh, yeah, she's gone. This other one is snoring, so I'm not going to feed 5-0 to the gators because they're just snoring. Who cares? Anyway. So this whole election thing, the immigration issue, it's really amazing how there's just such a dichotomy. We've got the Democrats on one side swearing there's no problem. And then we've got the Republicans and everybody else who can see the problem. You see it. You just go into the grocery store and you see it. I mean, I don't know where you live, but here in Florida, I sometimes wonder if, am I in Guatemala? Where am I? No one's speaking English. But then again, Florida is the vacation sunshine capital of the world. So we do get people from all over the world. So that's not really weird. But I do see, thank you, David. Hi, Sam. You're right, Sam. Vote Kamala and make the traitor lose twice. Oh wait, Sam. Sam, you're such a fool. Yeah, MAGA is real, but why are you saying vote Kamala? Kamala doesn't like MAGA, remember? She hates it. She hates making America great again. She wants to make America fully illegal immigrant. She is actually she's not even eligible to be a president, neither one of her parents were born in this country. I'm not even sure she was naturalized. But I know Democrats, you guys don't worry about rules. You really don't care. So it's crazy. Anyway, yeah, I'm wacky because I love this country. So call me wacky. I'm fine with it. I am who I am. All right, you guys. Well, I wanted to read some information, some news to you, since it seems like some people are uneducated. But I like this as a source. This is FAIR, which stands for Foreign, fairus.org. What is FAIR? Oh, no, I'm looking up fairies.org. No, that's a problem. I definitely don't want to look up fairies. Oh. It's Fair US, not fairies. You're so right, Luigi. Oh my gosh. Now we have people speaking in other languages. We can't understand you, Hashem. It's funny. YouTube's so funny. I never know who's going to show up. But then again, Facebook's like that too. Okay, so FAIR stands for Federation for American Immigration Reform. and they do have really, really good information about immigration. But what I was looking up is, you wonder, like I have people say, but people want to come to our country. We should just let them in. Well, I have immigrated. I didn't immigrate to America. I was born in America, but I actually immigrated to Switzerland. That's right. And you don't get into Switzerland without going through customs. They will deport your butt so fast. It is very difficult to get into a country like Switzerland. And becoming a citizen is even harder. I mean, I literally had to go through 7 years of applying. And then, well, I mean, I didn't apply through all the 7 years, but at the end it took me several years just to get into the process. And then at the end I had to go in front of a panel of Swiss people and prove that I could speak the language, that I was part of my community, which really kind of is the way it should be when you move to a foreign country. I mean, if you imagine, say, okay, let's take Springfield, Ohio. We've got something like 30,000 residents, and then we dump 20,000 illegal. Okay, I guess it's legal because they put them there, right? But anyway, then we dump 20,000 migrants from Haiti who don't speak English. You're really rude, Paul. I'm going to put you in timeout. There we go. Whoops. Okay. Oh, the gators are hungry. Such rude people. Yeah. Oh, here's another one. See, these are definitely Democrats because they are saying disgusting sexual things, because I think that's all they think about. I don't know. Hi, Ginger. Yeah. No, Texas definitely not a foreign country. Anyway, oh boy. What's up with disgusting men who have to always talk about sex? Can't you get over yourselves, people? It's really gross. Nobody takes you seriously. Doo-dah, doo-dah. Anyway, according to FAIR, illegal immigration threatens our national sovereignty. So sovereignty is the concept that a state has authority to govern itself. Mexicans with Trump, woo, woo, woo. The United States has the right to determine its own boundaries and who is allowed to enter and remain in the country and under what circumstances. Those who enter illegally undermine the sovereignty by disregarding our laws. The U.S. immigration system should be built and maintained to further our national interest, and Americans must protect our sovereignty by enforcing the rules we set and protecting our boundaries. For instance, and this guy said it in the hearing. He asks this sheriff who believes that border walls are racist. He's like, dude, do you have a front door on your house? And he's like, yeah. Oh, do you lock it so that you keep your family in? or I mean, are you afraid of all the people who might come in? He's like, do you lock it? And the guy's like, no, I really don't. Yeah, sure, you don't lock the front door to your house. But seriously, you want to keep the people safe within the house, within the country. So you don't open the door and say, come on in. You just don't do that. It's not cool. You want to take care of your daughter who's sleeping upstairs. You don't want to just invite whoever's outside to come on in and sleep with your daughter, because they will. They will. That's what they do. Anyway, yes, you are right, Donna, about that promiscuity is true as well. Yay, Trump for rural America. Woo woo. Love you guys. But yeah, it's so true. Ask Germany. Exactly. You are so right about that. And I lived in Switzerland at the time when they were letting a lot of immigrants into Germany. I left actually right before that went down and was really bad. But seriously, women in Germany are always in danger, and they no longer can go outside wearing mini skirts or looking cute. You can't look cute anymore in Germany, because if you do, you're asking to be schmate. Do you think that's fair? So this is okay. This is what I've been researching about Springfield, Ohio. People are asking me, Joel, what's going on in Springfield, Ohio? I went to Ohio University. No, I've never been to Springfield, but I can tell you exactly what's going on there. I've done a lot of research. I have talked to people who live there. I have seen videos, and here's what's happening. They dump all these immigrants in this town of 20, 30,000 people. They dump almost like a third of the people in the town. They dump them into this town. They literally bring them in by the Greyhound busloads and just drop them off. It sounds like maybe some of the local officials who own properties are making money off of them because they are getting so much money. They literally get these debit cards. They call them like free money or something, which is what they are. Anyway, they get these debit cards full of money, and they can rent homes, and they are actually kicking the residents out of their homes who can't afford to live in them anymore because of Bidenomics. And these people who have plenty of disposable cash are able to pay these exorbitant rents. And that's why the officials in Springfield won't tell you the truth, because they're making money off of these immigrants who are using your taxpayer money to eat, to live. But here's the thing. They come from a country that's so dirt poor and so backwards that they still can't get over the fact that they could eat food like we do. No, they still want to eat the roadkill in the street. Yes, they do that. They really do. They will see a dead animal in the street and they will take it off and they will eat it. They will cook it up or eat it. I don't know if they eat it raw. I don't think they eat it raw. I don't know. I don't know. I can't even imagine. However, that's how they get food, you know. They literally take roadkill. And I'm not lying about this, and I'm not telling tales. This is real. This is a fact. You can look it up. And I hope that you do your own research, you know, please do. Because as people of Springfield and other communities, just like Springfield is not the only one. If you live in a community where you're afraid to go to the grocery store, because here's what they do in the grocery store. So the men go in the grocery stores, the Haitian men, and they totally intimidate any woman. You can't shop alone in the Springfield grocery store if you're a woman anymore, because they will like go up behind you. I've heard that they are very touchy-feely. They will be like on top of you. They will take food, they'll just like eat it, throw it, they don't care. They are like savages. And I'm not saying that as a racist person or anything. They come from this country where they act like savages because they're so poor that they act like savages. That's what, you know, great poverty does. It reduces you to the lowest common denominator, to where all you care about is survival. And if that means you have to eat the roadkill off the street, you eat the roadkill off the street. Now, the other thing that they do is they go there's right outside of Springfield, there are little lakes and ponds, as there are all over the great state of Ohio. And they take the ducks and the geese and whatever other waterfowl are stupid enough to get caught in their trap, or I wouldn't even say stupid. You know, America's ducks and geese, now we do have hunters and everything, and there's something called hunting season, and you literally have to have a license, and it's very strict, and you can't just go out and just start killing wildlife willy-nilly. That is not allowed. But these people don't know those rules. Another thing that they don't know about is that they cannot, oh, here's another one. You know, Raven, what's wrong with you? Are you stupid? I don't get it. Anyway, I'm not saying poor people harass women. I'm saying Haitian men harass women. That's how they behave. They live in abject poverty, and they treat their women like, you know, I mean, they live like, that's how they live. That's just how they are. It's not my fault, and you can call me racist if you want, but that's just a fact. They're all over the women. The white women, I don't know, and maybe the black women too. I don't know. I just know that you cannot shop by yourself in a grocery store. In fact, I don't know if you realize how hard it is for women these days to even be alone, to go to stores alone. We get harassed everywhere we go. I get harassed everywhere I go, and I always have to really be worried about it. So, Tim, I don't know if they are eating cats. I don't know this personally, but I know that they do eat cats. In China, they eat cats. There are certain cultures that eat cats. And usually, the cultures that eat cats are the poorest cultures because that's all they can get is cats. And cats have lots of kittens and there's cats everywhere. So, you know, I don't know, but I understand that the stray cat population in Springfield is gone. That's a fact. You can look that up. So, yeah, point it out. It's okay. It's okay. Men are nasty to women. I mean, it's just a fact. MAGA. But women, we always have to be worried. It's a really sad state of affairs where you can't go out after dark without being concerned. You want to pump gas. My husband, when he was alive, he would be like, you don't realize it. You cannot pump gas after dark. It's too dangerous. And women aren't always aware of these dangers. But when we are, man, it's like we have to be prisoners. But no, not all men, Tim. Definitely not all men. But enough men that it is scary for all women out there. So it's very difficult. All right. So here's something else according to FAIR. Illegal immigration undermines the rule of law. Now, this is so true, even though the Democrats will tell you, and Cackles especially, they are the least likely to commit crimes. Excuse me. You've already committed a crime by breaking into a country where you don't belong. Try that in Mexico. Just walk into Mexico and see how you do. Gina says she's seen videos of cats on a grill, and some black person said, yeah, I'm not going to say that. But yes, so there are videos out there. I mean, there's definitely evidence out there that is happening. But if you want really facts that, you don't want to be worried about, they are definitely eating the ducks and the geese. They're doing that for sure. Donna worked with Haitians when the first crew of them came over before the year 2000. She knows how to speak their language. So if you need to cuss anyone out in Haitian, in Creole, you just ask Donna. She'll help you out there. Yes, they are there legally. Yes, Kamala and Joe Biden shipped them in, so they are definitely in America legally. I don't know if they came in by plane, if they were shipped in by a plane or whatever. But yeah, that's great. They're here legally. Still, overrunning a small town with people from another culture, a poor, distressed culture at that. It's not fair. It's not fair to the citizens who live there. And it's not fair to the people that you just shipped in because they're going to be hated for the stuff they're doing. And that's the stuff that they do. I mean, okay, so here's how illegal immigration undermines the rule of law. And by the way, even if the Haitians are here legally, and I don't think all of them are here legally. I think many of them actually come here illegally, and then they are granted legalized permits or whatever from their CBP1 app. Anyway, I haven't cried at all. So do you see tears here? No. I don't have a horrible life, but yeah, eating ducks and geese is not cool. We don't do that in America. They are not new citizens. They are here temporarily. That's called temporary placement. That doesn't mean that they are going to be citizens here. So anyway, our country has a system of laws. From the federal down to the state and local levels, we expect those in the United States to abide by those laws, whether the law relates to a person's civil liberties, respecting one's property, or obeying red lights, like driving, okay? When a law is broken, there should be consequences. Those who enter legally or illegally, or overstay their time in the United States are violating our immigration laws and disrespecting our system of government, a clear indication that they may not abide by other laws. When the rule of law is degraded, cynicism, corruption, social discontent, and chaos can and will ensue. Tim, I like J.D. Vance. I was a little bit unsure about him at first, but the more I hear of him, the more I like him. He tells it like it is. His interviews are fantastic. Everybody should watch them. So, and the other thing is what I just read, even if they're coming in so-called legally, as in the Haitians, they're not coming to America to be American. They're coming to America to take advantage of Americans. They are breaking our rules. They're driving cars. You literally cannot drive down the street in Springfield, Ohio, because you could get into a car accident super easily. They literally are flipping cars in the middle of the street. That's another fact. You love him too, huh, Tim? He is pretty cool. Yep, Gina has friends, and ask your friends, Gina. I mean, let's get the truth out there. Everybody needs to know, and it's also not only happening in Ohio, this is happening all over the country, where you have people from other countries who don't know our laws are here looking to take advantage. And, you give them lots of money and you go, welcome. And what do you think? The people who are coming here, what do you think they're coming here for? Exactly, Gina. I know. I saw that too. And I talked to some people too, that the ducks and the geese in Springfield have been taken away, killed. And people have watched them kill them. And there are videos of them killing them too. Okay, so here's another reason why illegal immigration is wrong. It harms American workers. Illegal immigration hurts our workforce by taking opportunities from American workers and students. U.S. workers are harmed or disadvantaged by illegal aliens who will work for remuneration that is lower than the minimum or prevailing wage, often driving down wages for Americans. Additionally, illegal aliens accept unsafe working conditions that violate safety regulations. Illegal immigration's impact on U.S. workers in turn places a toll on the overall U.S. economy. You have to take this into account. I have a friend who, she's lived on a farm her whole life. It's a dairy farm, like out in dairy country. And she was telling me about the dangers that pose when dairy farmers hire illegal or really any immigrants to work on their farms, because they don't care the way that the farmer's family does, or the community who might get jobs working on the farm would care about the business. When you are willing to pay people so cheap that they are illegal or that they can't live off the money, then you also are hiring people to work in your business who don't care about your business. They're just there for the money, and the money they're getting is not enough money, and they know this, and they don't feel like you're a good person because you're paying them cheap, because you're taking advantage of their illegal status, are you not? And it's not a good relationship. And then your product, they're working in unsafe conditions because there's nobody overseeing, there's no regulations or anything, because they're illegal. So, there's so many reasons why hiring, look at this stuff in China. Those factories where these factory workers are working in conditions that nobody should accept, and they're creating products that are really bad for you, bad for the environment, bad for everything. And then you think, oh, I get this so cheap, and it's a piece of crap and actually going to make you sick. So it's really, really bad. So Bob, support American manufacturing by rising wages and getting people to work where they have pride in their job, because they're being paid a living wage, or they're being paid enough to support their families, and they like their business, and they want whatever they're making to be quality. So that's also why you want to hire people who have skills. And a lot of the people that are coming out of Haiti don't have any skills. They just don't. So, these are anti-immigration arguments. Yeah, no, illegal immigration isn't good. And it's not anti-immigration because, like I said, I myself immigrated to Switzerland. I was married to a Swiss and he didn't immigrate here and I got divorced, but whatever. Anyway, but I do know a lot about immigration. And if you think that like President Trump doesn't like immigrants, well, you're pretty stupid because both of his two of his ex-wives are his first ex-wife is an immigrant, and his wife now is an immigrant. So that's so totally not true. We like immigration when we have people coming into our country who have skills and who want to be American. People who want to embrace the American dream are always welcome. But you have to follow the rules. And becoming a citizen of any other country is never easy, and it should never be easy. It's a process, and it's a long process. And a lot of people want to come into America because it is such a great country and because we are all about freedom, at least we used to be. But anyway, there's a lottery system that we even have, which is, I'd say, pretty nice, where people can apply to get citizenship and maybe they win that lottery and a lot of people get in through the lottery system. I'm not a Swiss supporter. I was a Swiss citizen. I got Swiss citizenship when I lived there because my children were Swiss. And I do not approve of Switzerland in any way, shape, or form. And I think that that is a country that has participated in human trafficking, not to mention stealing gold from Holocaust victims. I know all about Switzerland. I know things about Switzerland that you guys wouldn't believe, and I'm writing a book about it, so stay tuned for that. But I left Switzerland, and I'm here in America for a reason, and I've always been an American. But I did get Swiss citizenship. I did infiltrate them once. But I'm not going back there, and I don't want to be Swiss. So I am American. I was born here in America. Absolutely. So I'm a Smerican. Well, my children are Smericans. I don't know. I'm a dual citizen, but I don't really think that my Swiss citizenship, I haven't kept it up. I don't vote in Swiss elections. I don't do anything. I don't pay taxes there or anything. So I wouldn't really say that I'm a Swiss citizen anymore. But when I lived there, I had to become one because of my children. But I'm American through and through and was born and raised in America. So Bob, you can make all the assumptions you want about me, but I am American, 100%. So you don't know me, so you don't know anything. Hi, Laura. So illegal immigration threatens American safety and well-being. Illegal immigration impacts Americans individually and is not a victimless crime. As illegal immigration has increased, so has the trafficking of drugs such as fentanyl, with drug overdoses killing 100,000 Americans a year. When illegal aliens are released into American communities without proper vetting, Americans are increasingly becoming the victims of illegal alien crime, including hit and run, assault, and even murder. Illegal alien crimes are entirely preventable since the illegal aliens shouldn't even be in the country in the first place. In addition, illegal aliens often steal Americans' identities to live, work, and remain in the country, and that is terrible. Yeah, oh, you're so right. I don't know what your name is, but you're right. There are videos of people saying that their pets have gone missing, and there are town meetings, and there are people very upset in Springfield. And to make fun of these people or say that they're lying is really, adding insult to injury. And it reminds me of the people in the UK right now, and they're dealing with all those Asian grooming gangs, all those groups of people from other countries. And I think a lot of them were they weren't actually Asian, but they were Muslim. And they were, They were literally trafficking young women and maybe some men, but mostly girls in the UK. And this has been going on for 20, maybe 30 years. And finally, the British people are finally upset about it. Like, what took you so long? I mean, these girls, though, they would complain about it. They would go to the police, and the police would not help them. It's like everybody is so sympathetic to these migrants, and they're not sympathetic to the people who live there. So now you see these people in England, and they're being called racist. They're not racist. They just don't want to give their country away anymore. It's just really sad, that you live somewhere where you grow up there, you pay taxes your whole life, you live and you work there, and all of a sudden these people come flooding in. They don't speak your language. They don't do anything like you do. They abuse. I understand the Haitians too are very, let's say, messy and throw garbage all over the place. People don't want to live like that. That's your town. You just invite whoever to like come on over and trash your house and mess with your daughter and eat your dog. I mean, sorry, but that's what's going on. Okay, here's another point. Illegal immigration is a burden on the taxpayer. The costs of illegal immigration to the taxpayer are numerous, but the largest costs are the education of their children, emergency medical care, and incarceration for those arrested for crimes. Yeah, don't forget, you got to keep those people alive. U.S. taxpayer dollars also support shelter, educational benefits, welfare, and tax credits for those in the country illegally. Despite being ineligible, some illegal aliens also get welfare the same way they get jobs, with identity documents falsely identifying them as U.S. citizens, which is a crime, often obtained through identity theft or forgery. In addition, if they have U.S.-born children, they may collect welfare assistance in the name of those children. At the start of 2023, the net cost of illegal immigration for United States taxpayers at the federal, state, and local levels, get ready for this, it was at least $150 billion. This number undoubtedly has continued to grow as mass illegal migration continues. It's terrible. Yeah, to deny illegal immigration at its highest in years is not looking at this without honest eyes. You're so right. Okay, here's another one. The illegal alien population is massive and growing. Daily it's growing. According to FAIR, at least 16.8 million illegal aliens resided in the United States as of June 2023. Sorry, I got a thing in my throat there. Since 2021, the number of illegal aliens crossing the nation's borders has grown significantly. In fiscal year 2023, a record 3.2 million encounters with illegal aliens were recorded at America's borders. In addition to those arrested, many illegal aliens have succeeded in evading law enforcement or border patrol, often entering between ports of entry. There were more than 1 million known gotaways during the first 2 years of President Biden's tenure, not to mention hundreds of thousands of unknown gotaways who avoided law enforcement notice entirely. So we're not talking about the few people now who are coming legally. We like those people. You come in, you follow our rules. We love you. We want you here. You come, you're smart, you're educated, or you're getting educated or whatever, but you want to be an American because you love America and you want to live here. We welcome you. But if you're coming here just to get a free handout and take advantage of us, we do not want you here. Yeah, and Bob, that sounds great. Let's teach the illegals, right? Oh yeah, let's educate them. Let's pay for their health care. Let's pay for their housing. Pay for their English lessons. Pay for, you don't just all of a sudden, boom, you're an American. It doesn't work that way. It's hard. I lived in Switzerland for 10 years, and it took me I became a citizen in 7 years, but it took me that long to assimilate. Just to learn the language was very difficult. To learn all of the customs, it's very, very difficult to go to a new country and be a part of that country. Actually, Bob, that is the Statue of Liberty, and that was given to America by France. So, no, that poem is not we didn't put that there. The French actually did. Give me your poor, your tired, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. Sounds kind of like communism, I don't know. But anyway, that was a gift from France. So I'm not going to take that super seriously and say that Americans have this responsibility to take care of every poor person in the world. That's simply not true, and it's not fair. I know, Bob, I think Bob is just looking for a fight or something. I don't know. But have you ever lived in another country, Bob? Because it's not easy. It's not easy. Our democracy is not democracy. It's a constitutional republic. And I don't believe that Bob has anything to do with being a Republican. He sounds pretty Democrat to me. Anyway, we live in a constitutional republic, and we live by the rule of law, and we have justice, even though it's not being followed in America anymore. But yeah, that's right, Donna, exactly. You can keep saying that we're in a democracy, but it's never going to be true. So... just saying. Amnesty is not the answer. As millions of illegal aliens are allowed to remain here year after year, pressure rises from immigrant advocates to grant them amnesty. However, this is the equivalent of pardoning criminals en masse because it is easier than locating, arresting, and detaining them. Amnesty, whether by policy or practice, encourages further illegal immigration, and by creating new legal immigrants out of illegal ones, adds dramatically to the future backlog of relatives abroad who apply for legal admission through chain migration. Amnesty also would be very costly. And that chain migration is a huge, huge situation. Yeah, Bob is definitely a Democrat. We're pretty clear. So, no, Bob, we don't live in a democracy. I don't know what country you live in, but I live in a constitutional republic. We are democratic sometimes in our voting and such, so they say, but a democracy is maybe not, maybe Bob needs a little lesson. Here, I'm going to educate Bob because he apparently doesn't understand the United States or what it means, democracy. As a form of government, the word democracy comes from the Greek words demos, meaning people, and kratos, meaning power. So democracy can be thought as the power of the people, a way of governing which depends on the will of the people. However, here's the problem. When you have all the people and you've got, differing opinions and different, as we live in different states and stuff, how do you govern fairly? Because it's not fair if everybody's thinking this way, but then there's a few people that need to be taken care of, and in this country, that's all they talk about is there's very few people, like the LGBT, whatever, community. Like those people seem to me more important than the rest of us for some reason. I don't know. But it's pretty kind of crazy. But we do not live in a democracy because democracy is, again, like mob rule. So that's why America has an electoral college. You know what other country has an electoral college? Switzerland. And the reason why, this person doesn't know me or doesn't know anything about me and is telling lies. So I'm going to put you in the water, eaten by a gator. I don't like liars. And I really hate it when people come on my show and start trying to tell me things about myself and they don't even know me. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Yes, you are right. You are not to go to another country and do crime, and yet that's what they do. But that's the other thing, and President Trump brings this up all the time. Like in Venezuela, where they've emptied their jails and they sent them here. So, yeah, that's what they do. Yeah. Again, I'm not Swiss, I'm American. I just have a Swiss passport. So, because Bob, you don't know how America works. If you think that you live in a democracy, you are wrong, my friend. You live in a constitutional republic. Have you ever read the Constitution? Do you know what it looks like? I have. In fact, I've held classes on the Constitution on my shows, so I know a lot about the Constitution. And a constitutional republic, oh, again, I was educating Bob about the Electoral College. So the reason you have an Electoral College is, so for instance, in America, you've got a big concentration of people in the cities, right? We've got out on the West Coast, we've got Los Angeles. On the East Coast, we've got New York City, Chicago, all these great big cities. Well, people who live in big cities, they have big mouths. But they don't know how to take care of themselves. They don't farm. They can't grow their own food. People in the cities are kind of dependent upon city management. So they have a different way of looking at life than the people who live in the rural parts of our country, like out in Indiana, out in Kansas, where they're farming and they grow their own food and they hunt and they fish and they, live in the wilderness, and they have a lot of life skills that the people in the cities maybe don't have. So when it comes to making laws, of course, the people in the cities have different ideas about what laws should be made, and they don't take into consideration the people who live in the sparsely populated parts of the country. That's why you have an electoral college, to make sure that everybody has a fair amount of votes. So they do this in Switzerland as well, because the people who live in big cities like Geneva and Basel and, what's the other one? Zurich. So those people have way different mindset and way of life than the people who live in the farm countries, which is all around Switzerland too. It's such a tiny country. It's like the size of Pennsylvania. But they need an electoral college in each canton, otherwise state, so that everybody gets a fair vote. And that was really came into play back when I lived there, and they were voting on whether or not to join the European community. And the people in the cities wanted to join the EU, and the people in the farmland said, hell no, we won't go. And guess who won? It was the people in the farmland. So, and they were right about it, because if you look at the EU right now, what a mess that is, right? So, Bob's so dumb. Bob, you need to go back to college. Why don't you take a Heritage Foundation course or something and learn about your country, because you don't seem to know anything. Oh my gosh, totally. All right, you guys. Well, I've had enough of this, and I've got a lot of work to do. So I'm going to go back to my editing of my book, and I will see you guys on my next beach report. Another idiot. Oh my goodness. Ciao for now. Arrivederci.